We're so glad you're here.
We believe in bringing in experts to inspire and to educate women so that they can live empowered, fulfilled, and successful lives.
When women support women, we change the world. Here we go.
You're going to love this program. It's great to be back in the recording studio to talk to another powerhouse woman. I want to tell you a little bit about her. We're going to be speaking to one of the pioneers and a champion for women in the legal profession. She is consistently recognized on the many lists that are published as a top business leader, super lawyer, notable, and best attorney. The list goes on and on. And she has served as the past president of both the American Bar and Chicago Bar Associations. And as an internationally recognized attorney, she is a sought-after speaker, and fortunately, she graced the TED stage with her powerful talk on human trafficking, including her work to combat it. She's an incredible role model to many. Our guest speaker is Laurel Bellows. Welcome, Laurel.
Hi, Barbara. Hi, Nancy. I'm so thrilled to be here. I love being with you guys professionally and personally, but I certainly love that introduction. So I might as well just go to the beach, right? That's what I'm doing. Let you guys manage my money and just send me what I need to buy my margaritas on the beach. This is fabulous. You're amazing.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, I need to let people know a little bit more about you. So Laurel, in 2009, founded the Bellows Law Group, and she counsels, negotiates, and litigates on behalf of clients, whether those are senior executives or corporations, really on virtually all employment matters, agreements, disputes, and has done groundbreaking work on global business conduct standards, anti-trafficking, supply chain, and recruiting policies. Laurel's an incredible negotiator on behalf of clients, skills she's previously shared with our Women's Forum community on two occasions, two really outstanding programs that she led and are probably the most frequently watched programs on our Women's Forum website. So, Laurel, every conversation we have with you is entertaining, educational, and inspiring. Thank you again for joining me and Nancy to help kick off our podcast series as we explore aspects of our current theme, designing and living your brilliant life.
Well, designing and living your brilliant life also includes financial independence, which is something that I share with every single woman I talk to. All right. It should be shared with every man. We would like to say that women and men should know this, all right, equally, but they don't. Women are still brought up, I think, to please and to know that they have, or to think that they have choices as to what they're going to do with their life. And men are brought up from the very beginning to know that they're going to work the rest of their life, all right, for profit. Women work all their lives, but they don't always earn income. So financial independence is a conversation I had with my mother since the beginning of time, and it's the watchword that I live by, and that so that I'm thrilled to be talking about a brilliant life. But if you want to lead a brilliant life, you better be able to eat.
Well, that's true, and you've been so effective at helping more people, men and women, earn more income in your negotiations so that they can have some of that financial freedom. So you're a big contributor there too. So we love that about our shared goals to help empower others to ask for more, right?
Well, yes, or to just plain ask. I was at a group of high level financial women yesterday, and I needed to remind them that they need to be negotiating every time they have an opportunity for a promotion. It's not just when the recruiter calls you and says, "Hey, you think you might want to move from your job. I have a great situation for you," or when that company calls you and says, "Sorry, senior executive, we love you, but we're going in a different direction." All of those things. But I actually was shocked by the response of the women. It was like an aha moment when these 45-year-old or 50-year-old women who had reached the top at the top financial paths forgot that they needed to negotiate or were uncomfortable. So that's one of the things. Can we talk about sometime today when we're talking about discomfort at negotiating your brilliant life? In other words, when you're negotiating for yourself, I think everybody realizes that we're all uncomfortable doing that. So We should.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that's an important question. Why don't we just ask it now, right? So let's just go there. We don't have any order of what we want to talk about because, that's a question that we have is how do you help give people more courage to ask for more and do more? It's something that seems to come so naturally for you. And how do you help others, especially women, do that as well?
But I want to share something. It does not come naturally for me. I don't think it comes naturally for anybody. If you were to ask an opera star, oh, all right, does she panic before she goes on stage? Well, she probably has learned to control the panic, the edge, but she still has butterflies in her stomach. There are superstars who throw up before any presentation. But I'm serious that women have to understand that being afraid is part of the being successful. I mean, it's not just if you're afraid you're going to do better. It is simply if you're everybody's got a little concern. And if they're not going for perfect. If they're so certain that they're going to do it right and they know everything and they're totally prepared, it's not going to be as terrific as if you're really focusing on what you need to be thinking about before you walk out into that negotiating situation. I might add one thing. From when we talk about negotiation itself, I tell women this too. I tell men this too. The men laugh and the women take it seriously. That I bring these dogs, imaginary dogs, with me. I mean, I have these two really fierce, really big imaginary dogs that sit next to me in a negotiation. Sometimes they're laying down, kind of going, like, okay, everything's fine. But then when they know that I'm facing a problem, these dogs get up and they start, to glare and growl. And I'm thinking, oh, I got my dogs with me,
Nice.
let's have some fun. All right. It's really important that women understand that fear cannot keep you from protecting yourself. Everybody is concerned about not knowing everything. Everybody's concerned about negotiating themselves. The best negotiators frequently go to others to negotiate for them.
hmm
We
Well,
know-
actually,
yeah, go ahead.
Barbara, that's something you and I talk about all the time when we talk about the ask, that women are so good at asking for others and negotiating for others, but not so much at times for ourselves.
100%, Nancy. It's not even a 99%. It's there are women who, like me, can deal with confrontation because that's our business, and it's easy to deal with confrontation on behalf of somebody else because you feel like you're doing good at the same time.
Mhm.
I mean, you want to do the very best you can, but you're feeling like you're giving back, which is a way of protecting yourself from the fear. But even when I'm negotiating for somebody else, I'm concerned that I'm planning, I'm preparing hugely. So, but if you're negotiating for yourself, you must have an agenda. You must know what you want. You must have used your friends and your support system to figure out what you're negotiating for. You can't get sloppy if you're negotiating for yourself. That's the other thing. It's business. You are your own business. You are your best representative if you choose to represent yourself well. And that would be to make use of all the opportunities to figure out what you need and what you want and set goals and who can help you. I come to you guys all the time. I say, right, okay, I have something I need to negotiate for somebody else, and I'm having trouble finding the words. I'm having trouble finding what will convince this person because they're particularly difficult to talk to. When women are negotiating for themselves, they need to do that all the time, just the same thing. Think about it as negotiation for somebody else or have somebody else negotiate for you. And don't shy away for negotiating a promotion. Somebody gives you a promotion. Oh my goodness, what do? Do you say thank you and go walk into your office? Or do you ask to change your office? Do you ask for the stock options? Do you ask for a higher bonus target? I mean, yes, of course you do. Like, oh, really? I get a promotion? Am I getting a new grade? I mean, am I going to grade 15 or am I, I'm at a 75% bonus target right now. Does that mean I'm going to 85 like you? All right. And, you got to do it. You can figure out a tone so you're not called aggressive and greedy. All right. As opposed to strong and confident.
So help us understand the reluctance that people have. Do they feel like they'll be perceived that they are greedy and that and not in the right light? Or it's kind of a
Mm.
mystery to me why, why wouldn't they retain an attorney, especially someone like you, to be the good cop, bad cop, to at least have a resource, an advocate by their side.
So that's a many pronged answer. All right. So, number one, let's go back to something simple before we go into the heavy, right? Why do we procrastinate? We procrastinate because we're fearful. It's procrastination is a form of, it's an expression of fear. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know that how I'm going to be received. I don't. So what happens? We just keep putting it to the bottom of our pile, and we've procrastinated instead of jumping right in and saying, what do I need to know? How can I do it? So that's something we want to recognize. The next is sometimes women do not recognize the opportunity to negotiate. So there is a combination of concern about how you'll be received with that's the rationale. All right. But before you get to the point, way back in your brain, the rationale is out there. Don't do it. Don't take that risk. That's the amygdala saying to you, oh, that's risky, or negative. Don't do that. You don't have to go there. And you need to call that out to yourself. So women don't know to just call it out. Hey, my first reaction was negative. I shouldn't negotiate. Why? Because I'm afraid of doing it, or because I think I'm going to be received badly. So then you say, okay, who am I negotiating with? How do they receive me? Are they my best friend? Do I do it softly? Do I have to, okay. Yes, you are going to be, there's implicit bias against women who negotiate for themselves. That's it. It's subconscious implicit bias. Greedy, assertive, because that's not how we're seen. We're programmed, our brain is programmed to see a woman in a softer mode, not pushing for herself. And unless you call it out and just negotiate in a lighter tone, adjust your tone, adjust your speed, be a little not funny, but be a little open to compromise.
Engaging, right?
Engaging is a great word, but also open to compromising or explaining a little bit more than you might ordinarily. I love being here. I love being with you. I love being this kind of work. I love my job. I'm glad I brought this value. We always talk about that part, touting yourself is something. Oh, in answer to your question, women are not comfortable touting themselves. How do you negotiate for a promotion or more money, or how about how do you negotiate for just the extra something you want in your life, that you deserve a present? How about that? I mean, how do you negotiate with yourself that says, you know what? All right, my birthday's coming up, right? Nobody's going to get me what I want, so I'm going to go get it. Right?
There you go.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I'm going to pivot for a moment, Laurel, and ask you, when you started your career, there were so few women in the legal profession. You're in a male-dominated industry. Can you share with us a little bit about where your conviction and your confidence comes to speak up as you do?
Slowly over the years, right, with more increased certainty as to what I know and what I've experienced. I can't tell you that it comes naturally. I can tell you when I became president of the Chicago Bar Association, 23,000 members at the time, I was really excited about the platform because it gave me an opportunity to do some things I wanted to do. I didn't focus until like the week before on the fact that I had to give a speech. And I was scared to speak. I might have been speaking in court, but here I was going to be speaking to a very large crowd and from the voice of the Chicago Bar Association. Oh my goodness, my first real impression to all the members of the Chicago Bar Association. Scared, scared, scared. And I had to break it down, and I remained scared until I took some of the tips from the professionals that say, memorize your first paragraph, or, make the first part of it very personal so that you're comfortable talking, and then move into whatever it is. I think you just have to recognize that the more you do anything, the better you are at it and the more comfortable. Now, I love talking to you guys, and I love talking to people, particularly when I'm choosing the topic where I'm either helping them or speaking about something that I'm very confident in knowing and having practice. So either or, if you're speaking in a situation where you're not sure the content, obviously you must prepare triple, quadruple. and be very confident about the substance, right? But at the same time, just you have to figure out something that's going to make this fun. It's not looking at, we used to hear, oh, don't worry, just look at everybody out there like they're in their underwear. I mean, that's right. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, nobody's actually doing that. But if you can focus on one or two people or ask some of your friends to be there and tell them in advance to please smile. Sometimes you have your friends in the first row, right? Or wherever you are, they're with you, but they're so engaged in supporting you that they're like got worried faces on, and then you're looking at what these people are going, right? I know you have to say to them, your job is to sit there and smile at me, and no matter what I'm doing, just say, yeah, great, clapping, shouting, whatever on you. So you need a support system. The confidence also came. I have to give credit to my husband, who's the man who hired to train me as a trial attorney, where there were no women trial attorneys. I could not get a job as a trial attorney. So, I mean, he hired to bring me on as a trial attorney. And then, of course, every time I would walk into a courtroom, at that time, there was an actual daily court call for any case that was on trial. And I would walk into this huge courtroom, 350 male lawyers and a judge up front. And I would walk down the path up to the click, click, click with my heels. When people saw that it was a woman going up in front of this judge, even just for the status of her case, silence. They wanted to hear. They wanted either to see how I was going to fail, or I was just this pariah. I mean, they didn't know what a blonde, short blonde, and the judge. For the first couple of times I was there, the chief judge of the division, the trial division, would say, haven't I told you, whoever is the lawyer that's, trying this case, I've told him that he has to come here on his own. I'm not going to give you a trial date, all right, for your lawyer. Go back to the office and tell him to come here on his own. Your Honor.
Oh, I am the lawyer.
Wow. Well, that speaks so much to me. When I think about the leadership roles you've had, and what inspires you to be more than you can be, I feel like you have a lot of messages to deliver that are important for you to share to the world. Is that part of what inspires you, or what is it that drives you to be in that leadership role, to use a voice and to have a platform?
I'm very fortunate. There's nothing I say that I have to worry about other than to make certain it's the fact and that it forwards a goal of mine. And then 100% absolutely, in that freedom, I've been able to identify the platforms that are important to me. And they are, all right, advocacy on behalf of women, equal pay. Those are the things that drive me right now. Would be the areas in which I spotted what was crucial, all right, for women to succeed in the practice of law. And then from there, it was easy for me to see what's happening to my clients. And still, all right, to my amazement and disappointment, on my desk every single day are senior women leaders who have been separated out of a corporation because either they were seen to be not fitting in with the team, or there's a merger. We're doing a lot of M&A work right now, right? So when there's a merger, there are two CFOs, there are two CEOs, there are two general counsels. Right. And I'm seeing at some positions, general counsel, just like human resources, the women might get those positions a little bit more easily. They're kind of seeing now the face of a lawyer is definitely blurred. All right, you can be a super lawyer if you're tall or short, old or young, white or of color. But it's not true for the CFO and for the CEO. So we don't have a lot of women CEOs, and guess who controls? Guess who controls the hiring of the elite C-suite? So I think that I'm very fortunate to choose that equality mode. I mean, ERA has been on my mind and out there, and I'm about to jump back in pretty strongly to an equal rights amendment. It's astonishing to me that we are the only country practically in the entire world, maybe except for Yemen, that doesn't have equal rights built into our Constitution. Those constitutions were written later, but that doesn't mean they enforce them, all right? So there are all kinds of issues out there that I just have to choose one right about now. Right? I can't do it all. But I'm just saying, I'm driven by what I know can affect change. And it's not just about me. I started this when I was young, all right, and I didn't have power. I just felt that I needed to find a voice and work with others who did have power and watch them. That's the other thing. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody was listening to us. It's not about who we are right now. It's about who we want to be and our power to be anyone we want to be. But we have to direct ourselves, we have to prepare ourselves, and we have to be courageous. I mean, that's it. And you have the courage inside of you. People who say I'm afraid, they might have reasons to be afraid if it's a matter of protecting their children or finances or literally food or homes. Right?
Mhm.
It's not that, then you have no reason to be afraid. You just have to figure out how to do it. One person can change the world. It's just that we're not, I mean, and that I really believe that. It's just not that you're changing the whole world. You're changing this little bitty piece of the world. And that piece is going to grow because other people want to change the world in that way with you. And then little by little, when we started talking about modern day slavery in the United States, people just were shocked. They thought they actually just came and accosted me, right? Saying, how can you say that you're going to eliminate slavery? I said, what do you want me to say? I'm going to reduce it so that the global corporations have an excuse, all right, to retain some slaves. What I mean, is some slavery? Okay, no, it's not. We need to eliminate slavery in this world. So in any case, I'm a big believer that you can do whatever you want to do. All right. But it may not be by yourself. So you have to build coalitions. You have to join other people's coalitions. You don't have to be the leader everywhere. You just have to be the joiner and the doer.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. What you're saying, it really reflects that powerful statement that you made to me and Nancy before we spoke for the podcast today. And that was, to deny you have the power to do something and deny your ability to do it is to deny a brilliant life. Right. So
Well,
it's
yeah,
exactly who you are.
but I think it is who I am. It is who I am because when you asked me to come speak about what I thought was a brilliant life and how to design it, it's it's so personal. It's whatever you
Mhm.
feel you want to accomplish. But I think what we do, unfortunately, is make subconscious judgments about what we think we can do, as opposed to just writing on a list. Just write a list of the 5 things that you think this world should, your world. It doesn't have to be the entire world, it could be a small world. How would you change your world for the better? And then figure out like A, B, C, D, E. When you're writing that list, don't think about what you can or can't do. Just have fun one day. And it could be, for me, it's a margarita in Mexico. All right. So pour yourself a margarita, go out on the balcony. I mean, summer's coming to Chicago soon, I hope. So go to Lincoln Park or wherever your park is, listen to the waves and sit there with a pencil and paper and your drink of choice, which could be, like club soda or whatever you want to drink. But why don't you just recognize that we don't take any time to think about what we want to do?
Mhm.
All right. And by that I mean on your short list, this is not about your family. This is not about your work. This is the kind of internal conversation you have if you went into a 5-day meditation. All right. It's the kind of pop-up that says, the truth is, I really want to blank. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could blank? Wouldn't it be spectacular if I could have a massage every month? All right. And by the way, if that's on your list, guess what? You can.
Right.
And
Right.
it doesn't have
Yeah.
to be an expensive one because, if you don't have the money to get a massage, make a deal with a friend. All right. So, she gives you a back and shoulder massage once a week and you do the same for her. I mean, the manicure, it's not about money. It's about what engages you, what
Right.
drives you, what lights that fire, that spark. Um, it's not hard to light it personally if you just take some time to think about it. But I'm telling you out there, right, that list cannot include helping others. All right, that's wonderful, and we will talk about that, I'm sure. But that list has to be a you list. So it's a
Yeah.
list, it's a me list, capital M, capital E. All right, it's a me
Right.
list to start with. How do I know what my brilliant life is unless I know what that spark is for me?
Hmm.
I've
Well,
learned.
yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, well, we learned that, that in caring for ourselves, we actually are doing a service, offering value to those around us.
Oh,
and because we can't show up for others unless we show up for ourselves. So
Nancy, that you couldn't have spoken more wisely.
yeah,
But
yeah,
none of us do it. By the way, oh, by the way, do as I say, not as I do.
right.
I mean, that's the thing. So you're never going to be perfect, and you're aiming to lead this brilliant life. And your list is going to change, by the way. The fun thing to do. I mean, do you ever make an emergency list? I mean, what do I have to do that the world will not go forward if I don't do these 3 things tomorrow? Do you ever do that? Okay. And okay, Nancy. And when you get to 5 or 6 o'clock tonight, have you done your whole emergency list, the most urgent things in the entire universe?
No, this is actually for the weekend, but I try his best to. But
That's right. No,
He's pretty,
hear what-
he's pretty good at that, Laurel, though,
yeah,
I have
yeah,
to
I
tell
am.
you.
I mean,
I am.
think about me. All right. So I do the 3 or 4 or 5 legal areas and other things that I have to do
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And I wake up tomorrow and there are 3 of them that I haven't done, or 2 of them I have. And guess what? The world's still turning.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So-
I have a brother who describes people, how he admires certain people that are selfless. I'm like, that is not a positive attribute. I don't think it's good to be selfless. I think it's denying
yeah.
the joy that you need to have in your life versus thinking that's a really positive thing,
Well, it's
Well,
abandoning yourself almost.
there's that, certainly. I mean, you're right. It's a statement that says other people come first. And
Yeah.
just like you said, Nancy, other people can't come completely first, all right? Or you're gonna die early, right? And then you won't be able to help anybody.
Right.
But I also think that what we haven't talked about is there is a part of a brilliant life that is made brilliant by helping others,
Mm.
being there to ask. So one of my pet peeves, all right, is, well, I have a pet peeve that's really easy, but it's the same kind of thing. So my pet peeve is then I walk into a room. I know people might know who I am. I might recognize a whole bunch of people, but I always reintroduce myself. In the non-COVID days, I just, oh, Barbara Best, Laurel Bellows. And then you might say to me, I know who you are, Laurel, right? And then we can have a conversation about how we met. But the fact is that my pet peeve is when I reach out my hand and I say, Laurel Bellows, and the person on the other side of my hand says, yeah, I know you. Good to see you. Who in the heck is this? Like, how
Yeah.
self-centered?
Yeah.
All right.
Help me out here.
Right. But the fact is that that's a little way of helping people, because you're
Mhm.
trying to save them the embarrassment of not recognizing
Right.
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
Right. You want to be out there asking in the next question or in some conversation with your friends, how can I help you today? What's on
Right.
your plate? What can I do? And really meaning it. And if they give you something to do, you can say, oh, I can't do that today. I can help you with that. Let me tell you, like whatever it is. But that itself gives me personal joy, just to ask a question that I really mean. All right, that's a brilliant life. It's
Yeah.
sometime during the day today, I'm going to see somebody and say, what's up? How can I help? Oh my goodness, that's amazing. They could be giving me good news. It's not helping people. It's not all about helping somebody out of a pickle. All right. Helping people is helping them get better at what they're joyful about doing. So somebody could say, I just got this amazing job. I'm so excited. So how can I help you? Is it client face? Do I get to introduce you to some people who will be your new clients? Do I take you out to lunch and get you to meet? Oh, I know who you should meet. Like, whatever it is, that's part of my brilliant life. I mean, right now I'm getting excited about helping somebody. It just makes me and you, because I know you guys, this is what drives you.
So
It makes me feel good.
yeah. So being of service to others is really important to you. And I'm curious about something, Laurel. So let's say you ran the world and you had, a supreme power. What would you change?
If I had a supreme power, it would be find some brain to brain way that I could get into your head and without destroying your privacy, understand where you are and where you came from. I mean, I I think that if we're really wanting to help the world, I mean, you were talking about the supreme power, so we're playing with this. But the fact is, what I find, and this is something that is a need to improve on Laurel's list. All right, one, I don't listen as much as hard as I should. So maybe I should say, if I had a supreme power, I would make certain that everybody has to completely listen to the
Mm.
other person on the other side
Right.
without putting judgments or questions or thinking about what they're going to say next, but actually has to be totally focused on what you're saying before they respond, and that they had to count to 10 before they respond.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, that's that not being present and not listening is, I think, increased a lot, that issue. I think that's a real challenge that we have from a communication perspective in our society. That's
So part of that would be, in that world is in the listening. They have to be, open to understanding what you're saying and why you're saying it. We're just at such a loss. And I'm not talking about the United States only. I travel quite a bit. I mean, if you think about Latin America or South America, and you name me a country that's not in revolution or on the verge of it or having just escaped from it, you cannot. You cannot name that country. All right. And then now we have Ukraine and the pain of seeing that. And then I am Jewish. And so I'm always thinking about the what if, we say never again. We all walk out of that Holocaust museum. We say never again. But I walk out of that Holocaust museum and we've got Somalia and we've got Kosovo and we've got, now we have the Ukraine and then we had the incredible immigration up through Mexico from Venezuela. And I mean, we're just in a world in turmoil, and that doesn't even talk about the fact that we're destroying it. But then I think we should all ask ourselves, let's name something really positive. Like, what do you think is fabulous about our world? I think we do brilliant life. I think we do too little of that. We're focusing on how we can help people and the pain of it. All right. But I think that what we're doing is we just have to be positive about the fact that we're living in this wonderful city. Oh my goodness, do I adore Chicago, in this wonderful country. I cry. Okay, so I'll just be vulnerable with you guys. When I walk into the United States with my passport and the customs official, although generally now it's global entry, so I don't even get that custom, but I have that passport in my hand and I know I can enter my country, my home, and be free, I cry. I promise you, every single time, and I travel a lot, I'm so grateful that we have this country with all its faults because I travel too much to places that don't have
Yeah.
that.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That is an important pause. You talked about the need to pause and to take things in, and that's a great example of one to express that gratitude for
Mm-hmm.
so much that we take for granted, right?
Oh my, everything. We take walking across the street for granted. In a country that has stoplights, and then of course you have me, all right, who goes out of her way to jaywalk because my husband, because one of the first lessons my husband taught me was not to walk between the lines, and he always demonstrated that on crosswalks.
I love that. It was kind of a metaphor, quite honestly, Laura. Laurel, I do have to ask you. You talked about hearing other people describe the joy that they have or that you help them accomplish. What brings you joy, and how do you practice self-care and take those pauses you need to take?
So that's why I said, do as I say, not as I do. All right. However, I'll share, some moments which are, so first of all, what brings me joy is sunshine. So on a day in Chicago when I don't see sun or someplace, it's not brings me joy. I mean, rain with a book in my hand, like hanging on a couch, but that's so rare, right? All right. And so I do take time in my errands, all right, to have a couple of errands that are the for me errands. I do these days take time when I'm walking to really look at where I am, to notice the new
Mm.
trees and to
Mm-hmm.
notice the flowers, because I don't have a lot of special time for me. So whenever I try and squeeze that me time into the ordinary course of my day, I said massage. I haven't had a massage for forever with no excuse. But I do spend time in a warm country, and I do spend time with friends. Friends are my joy. I mean, friends even on Zoom. I mean, and
Yeah.
I keep up with
Connection.
it,
Yeah.
yeah, as much as I can. But I have to say to those of you who are tired of Zoom, it's also wonderful. I mean, we're all so busy that we may not have time to meet for coffee personally, but we can always click on that FaceTime or the Zoom and be with each other. So I find joy there. And I really do find joy in helping somebody. I mean, that
Mhm.
is personal joy in being able to do something sometimes it's very simple. It's a phone
Mhm.
call for somebody.
Yeah.
It's easy for you to make. You
Right.
just need to remember to offer it, and mostly right before you need to remember to ask. What, so we're sitting here having coffee. Is there, what can I do for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And you might say to me, you know what? Are you going to the grocery store today? And I said, yeah. Well, could you pick me up X and drop it off? Like we might be neighbors or something, or picking up the phone and saying that to a neighbor of yours. Hey, I'm heading to the grocery store today. Can I get you anything? And they say, oh my goodness, are you a lifesaver? I need X.
Right.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. Simple.
And
Simple. Right.
That feel good? I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
right? It feels good. So yes, it's, but no, let's be honest. I do not take the time I need. I, I have lately programmed some weekend time. What I've done for the first time, as far as a work change, which I don't enforce as much as I should, is I take Fridays and try not to schedule any calls so that I can do my substantive work on a Friday.
Mhm. So what is next for Laurel Bellows in
Well, I
addition to
have
the book?
I have, my own list of things that need to be resolved, but I have to say to you, I'm not sure they're going to be resolved in any final way. I've never really had a life plan. All right. It's just that one day or opportunity has led to the next. And because of what
Mhm.
I told you earlier, I have the luxury of changing directions as long as my husband and my firm are protected, right? And our daughter, obviously, our family. It's all about laughter. We laugh a lot because my husband's very funny. All right, we laugh. But now we're laughing at this little tiny kitten is not so tiny. So now it's 6 months. This little handful is now here, and he walks with the assurance of a panther because he now owns the. I will say that brings us joy. But it was a complete change in direction. We weren't looking for it. We just did it. All right. So that's what I encourage. I think what I would say is you build a brilliant life based on accepting what is next. All right. If it's going to bring you joy or get you further along the way to be a person that you would enjoy being with, if it's for you in the sense that you are not, this is something you want to do, you give it some pause and thought, all right, and then you just do it. Just do it. There's a little bit
Mhm.
of Nike in there. So what's next for me is I've been teaching negotiation to women for a long time. The book I'm writing is not a negotiation book for women. It's a little bit of negotiating a life kind of thing, but it's very brain oriented. I'm very excited about it.
Laurel, as you can imagine, I love that you say, what's next, just do it. And so, of course, we spend a lot of time, as you also suggested, helping people figure out what's next and financially, if they're able to support their what's next. And you, of all people, are keenly aware of the impact that intentional actions have on someone's financial success in terms of negotiating effectively, getting those strong financial packages. So, how does this translate into your life for yourself?
I'm terrible. I'm terrible. I'm terrible. All right. So, one, I am the ultimate person, all right, who didn't do what I said to women about financial independence. Yes. I mean, I do what I do. I do it well. I make money. Okay. And I know that I can continue to do that because the need for what I'm doing, people are going to be getting new jobs, dealing with M&As and private equity positions and change of control. All of that is not stopping.
Right.
So that whether you're getting a job or losing a job or thinking about retiring, that is going to be there. So I know personally that I'll continue to earn money. To what extent I want to be out there to attract and retain clients is another conversation,
Mhm.
right? But my husband is a CPA financial. I turned over a lot of that, a lot, and I'm regretting it. Not that he's not doing a good job, all right, but that I didn't learn about investing so that I could come and speak with you guys early on. That's why I'm so definite about the financial independence and coming to speak to you. Or I'm not a salesperson for you. I just know my comfort with you. I just, I think you do what you do exceedingly well. And as a first conversation, if anybody was hesitating about how to have a conversation, you've been amazing. All right, to my friends and to me, because there's no pressure when somebody comes and says, this is where I am. There's no judgment. And I think we're all concerned about being judged. And maybe that also goes back to the original part of our conversation. Why are we afraid? Why don't we do things? Why don't we choose for ourselves? I think we are all afraid of the judgment of other people. But I cannot emphasize enough how important it would be for a 30-year-old to please have a conversation with you, even though there's no money. That 30-year-old is probably paying too much rent and, and going out and doing what they all do, to buy these bottles of liquor, to reserve a table at the, like huge amounts of money. But that 30-year-old could also have a conversation with you where you say, okay, I got it, have fun, but put $10 a week aside. Just get in the habit, whatever it is. All right. I think that's the biggest mistake I made in my life. You want to talk about biggest mistake? It's not doing what I know. All right, I have to do.
Yeah, well, that's what we always say is, there's a lot of woulda, shoulda, couldas, but what matters is our next choice and decision, right? So, and that's all we can control. So I appreciate your willingness to put that out there.
Yes, because I think too many people either have a fear or put it off. It's very much like estate planning. You need a will. You know that. Forget the trust conversation. You need a healthcare power of attorney. And I ask my executive women and men when they come into me having nothing to do with what they're facing, whether they have a healthcare power of attorney, somebody appointed to make decisions when they cannot, when they're in a coma or when they're, something happens, somebody to decide how they're going to be taken care of for them based on their own instructions as a healthy, conscious person today. I cannot tell you how many people do not have a healthcare power of attorney. It's a form. It's a form on the internet. All right. So it's the same kind of thing. And then the next step is some minor form of estate planning. And then they start thinking at home, well, who gets what? And they make it too confusing. Just like you invest for people and with people, there's nothing that's 100% engraved in stone. You can change your mind.
Right.
So I want to say, as far as this financial planning, you've got to have a will, no matter who you are and where you are and what your situation is. And guess what? You can change that will in a week. All right. There's nothing that's engraved in stone. Have something and then think about it a little bit and go back to your attorney or,
Right.
This is a formal will. You cannot in Illinois and in most states just handwrite a will. It's not legal.
Right. And we're such advocates of that. In something that we profess all the time in our women's forum, because if you don't take action and own your power around protecting and preserving your wealth and your legacy, some probate judge or government or whatever, or somebody's going to do it for you. So yeah, we totally hear what you're saying.
So those are the things. Yeah. So
yeah, definitely.
This has been such a wonderful conversation. I could just keep going, but we've covered so much, and I thank you so much, Laurel, for spending this time with us.
Well, I'm, as I said, thrilled to be here, but I guess I just want to say, people should be brilliant. I mean, they should just define the brilliant in their own terms and just be brilliant and be thrilled to wake up in the morning, take your first steps, say, thank you, I've got my feet on the ground, and then say, okay, what am I going to do today that's really brilliant? All right, something that's going to make somebody smile, but mostly what would make me smile this morning? And just start your day like that.